There's a kind of pain that doesn't scream. It doesn't punch or bruise. It just sits there, quiet, suffocating, eating you from the inside out. It's the pain of betrayal. And if you've ever felt it, if you've ever looked into someone's eyes and realized they were looking past you, through you, or worse, at someone else, you know what I'm talking about. Let me ask you something. Have you ever questioned your own worth because of someone else's lies? I met a man once, intelligent, accomplished guy. On the surface, he had it all: career, charisma, and a woman he loved like she held the stars in her hands. And still he ended up broken. Not because he wasn't enough, but because he believed the wrong person was. This isn't just about her cheating. It's about the moment your reality starts to crack. The moment your intuition whispers something's off and you gaslight yourself into silence. That's what betrayal does. It doesn't just hurt, it steals your voice. It makes you forget your strength. But this isn't a speech about being broken. This is a speech about what happens next. Because if she's a cheater, your job isn't to catch her. Your job is to catch yourself before you fall so far you can't find your way back. Let's talk about the 5 signs, but not just the red flags. Let's talk about what they mean for you. Let's turn each one into power, into clarity, into rebirth. When someone truly loves you, really sees you, it's as if they are witnessing something sacred. A miracle unfolding in the everyday. Your imperfections don't repel them, they magnetize them. Every scar, every flaw, every little quirk that makes you becomes a part of the beautiful whole they cherish. Their eyes light up with the warmth of recognition, and their heart beats a rhythm tuned to your soul. But what happens when that seeing starts to fade, when the light dims, when you feel her gaze wandering, not in obvious ways, but in the quiet moments, the small spaces between words, the silences that grow heavier and heavier? It's not a thunderclap. It's a slow, creeping shadow. She laughs a little less. That sparkle in her eyes, the one that used to focus only on you, shifts elsewhere or disappears altogether. When you speak, she listens with only half her mind. As if the other half has drifted far away, tangled in some other world you can't reach. She's physically there, she still shows up, but the emotional connection, that deep current that used to bind you, feels cut off. Like a phone line dropped in the middle of an important conversation. This is the first sign, and it's heartbreaking because it's so quiet, so subtle that you might not notice it at first. You might try to explain it away. Maybe she's tired. Maybe work is stressful. Maybe life is just overwhelming. And sometimes that's true. Life can pull us under waves so big that even the strongest connection can struggle to stay afloat. But if this feeling persists, if the distance doesn't close, if her eyes no longer seek yours in the crowd, then your gut is trying to tell you something profound. This isn't love anymore. There's a brutal honesty in that realization. And it's hard because the instinct is to fight harder, to cling tighter, to prove you're worthy of the attention that's slipping away. But here's a truth that's easy to forget in the haze of confusion and pain. You were never put on this earth to beg for someone's attention. You deserve to be seen, fully, deeply, unapologetically. Not in flashes or when it's convenient, but every day, in the quiet moments and the loud ones. You deserve someone who chooses you over and over again, even when the world is pulling at them from every direction, even when their own struggles threaten to close them off. When she stops seeing you, it's more than her stepping back. It's a call for you to step forward, not toward her, but toward yourself. Because in that space where her gaze drifts away, your most important relationship is waiting for you to reclaim it. The one with your own soul. Ask yourself the hard question: am I honoring myself by staying here? Are you bending and twisting to fill the gaps she leaves behind? Are you shrinking so you don't rock the boat, hoping that if you just try a little harder, she'll see you again? If the answer is no, if you feel more invisible today than yesterday, then you're standing at a crossroads. Growth, real growth, doesn't happen when we explain away our pain or pretend it's something else. It begins when we stop running from what hurts and sit with it instead. When you feel the sting of being unseen, not as a weakness, but as a signal that something must change. When you refuse to numb the ache and instead let it teach you who you truly are beneath the fading love. It's in this moment of raw vulnerability that the hardest but most beautiful transformation begins. Because when you are no longer willing to settle for being unseen, you start to see yourself with new eyes. Eyes that recognize your worth, your light, your unshakable dignity. You remember the parts of you that were dulled by neglect, the dreams that were silenced by doubt, the courage that was buried under layers of disappointment. And as you honor that pain, as you face the truth of her absence, something powerful shifts inside you. You begin to reclaim your voice, your presence, your right to be chosen, not out of desperation, but out of unwavering self-respect. You realize that your value isn't tied to someone else's attention. It's intrinsic, it's in your breath, your heartbeat, your fire. This is the paradox of being unseen. It hurts so deeply because it's a mirror reflecting how much you have to offer, how deeply you need to be loved. And when that mirror cracks, you're forced to look inward and rebuild what you thought was lost. You learn to walk away not because you hate her, but because you love yourself enough to refuse anything less than wholehearted seeing, hearing, and valuing. You start to fill your own cup before giving it away. You surround yourself with people who see you, who cherish your existence without conditions or silence. And as you rise from the shadow of being invisible, you begin to live a new story. One where your worth is no longer defined by her gaze, but by your own unwavering eyes fixed firmly on your future. A story where you are not a ghost in someone else's world, but the radiant, undeniable protagonist here. So when she stops seeing you, remember this: it's not the end, it's an invitation. An invitation to rediscover the power, the beauty, and the love that have always been inside you. It's the beginning of a journey back to yourself. A journey worth every ounce of pain, every tear, and every moment of doubt, because you were born to be seen. Fully, fiercely, unconditionally. And that sight starts with your own eyes opening wide. Her patterns change, but the story doesn't match lies or rarely loud. They don't slam doors or set off alarms. They move like a soft breeze, quiet, almost unnoticeable at first. They show up in moments that seem harmless. A late night at work, a new friend from the gym, a shift in tone and rhythm and energy. You can feel it before you can prove it. You're sitting across from her, hearing the same story she's always told you, but suddenly something feels off. Not in the way she says it, but her words are the same, but the truth behind them, it's gone. That's the first signal. When her patterns start to change, but her story stays the same, your intuition starts ringing like a silent alarm, a new phone password, a sudden burst of privacy. A routine that used to include you, now carefully edited. It doesn't hit all at once. It trickles in slowly, almost giving you time to doubt yourself, almost convincing you that you're the one overthinking. And that's the danger. You start second guessing what your body already knows. Your spirit knows. That quiet, uneasy ache in your chest. That's not fear, that's truth knocking. Here's the real betrayal. It's not just about where she goes or who she talks to. It's that she's building a life without telling you. She's creating a separate world and handing out maps to everyone but you. And the scariest part, she keeps smiling like everything is the same, but things aren't the same. Not even close. When someone starts hiding, it's not just about secrets. It's about a shift in allegiance. Emotional disconnection always precedes physical betrayal. If you pay attention, the clues are all around you. The emotional intimacy that once felt like home is now guarded, locked away, rationed out in small, strategic moments just enough to keep you close, but never close enough to know the truth. And this is where you must wake up. You are not paranoid. You are not crazy. You are perceptive. And if something doesn't add up, it's probably because it's not supposed to. But let's be honest, facing this realization is terrifying. Not because you don't see it, but because deep down you do. And the truth is, we often delay confrontation not because we fear them lying, but because we fear what it will mean if they finally tell the truth. So we shrink, we play small, we trade our boundaries for the illusion of peace. We silence our voice just to preserve the fantasy we so badly want to believe in. But what if I told you that doesn't always roar? Sometimes it's a quiet refusal to keep pretending. Because love, real love, is not built on convenience, it's built on truth. And when the patterns change and the story doesn't match, it's not your job to become a detective, it's your job to become honest with yourself. Are you holding on to something that no longer holds you? Are you pouring energy into someone who is emotionally checked out? Are you sacrificing your peace just to keep her comfortable? There's nothing noble about staying silent in the face of deception. Love does not ask you to betray yourself. When someone starts to act differently, and their actions no longer align with their words, it's a red flag waving in the wind. Not to expose them, but to awaken you. To push you toward the life you actually deserve. One where trust isn't something you have to earn every day. One where you don't have to read between the lines or analyze their tone to guess how they feel. One where you are chosen with clarity, not tolerated out of guilt or convenience. This is your moment, not to chase her truth, but to stand in your own. You are not here to babysit someone else's deception. You are not here to teach someone how to be honest. You are here to build a life rooted in truth and wholeness, in the kind of deep love that doesn't have to hide behind half explanations and changed habits. And yes, walking away might be the hardest thing you've ever done, but staying in something that slowly eats away at your sanity, that's not strength, that's slow erosion. You have a right to peace, to clarity, to love that's safe, consistent, and honest. So the next time you feel her pull away, notice the shift, and catch her words floating just a few inches above reality. Don't just watch her patterns, watch your own. Don't abandon yourself trying to keep something alive that already let go of you. Choose your truth, choose your worth, choose the life that doesn't require you to wonder if you're being lied to when your heart already knows the answer. That kind of clarity, it's not just powerful, it's the beginning of your freedom. Let me know when you're ready for the next section. I'm here to help you build the full arc of the speech. You feel like you're competing with a ghost. Cheating doesn't always start with a touch. Sometimes it begins with a pause in the way she looks at you, a hesitation in her words, a distance in her presence that can't be explained by space or time. You start to feel it long before you understand it. You're not alone in the room, but you're not the only one in her heart either. There's someone else there, maybe not physically, maybe not even consciously, but emotionally, energetically, there's a shadow that wasn't there before. A name that doesn't come up, but somehow lives between the lines. A silence where once there was connection. And now you're trying to measure up to something you can't see, can't name, can't hold. You're competing with a ghost. And ghosts don't fight fair. They don't show up to talk things out. They don't give you a chance to understand what went wrong. They live in the background, haunting the parts of her she once gave to you. And this is what hurts the most. Not that someone else might be in the picture, but that you were once the whole picture. And now you feel like an option. So what do? We start striving. We try to fix it. We wake up earlier, stay up later. We overanalyze every word, every text, every shift in mood. We smile when we want to scream. We give more than we have, all to prove we're still worth choosing. We do things to earn back a space that was never supposed to be at risk. And somewhere in the middle of all that effort, something sacred breaks. We lose ourselves. Because here's the cruel irony of emotional betrayal. You start fighting for someone else, and in the process you abandon yourself. You silence your instincts, you betray your needs, you ignore your truth. And all the while you keep hoping that if you can just be more, do more, love harder, they'll come back to you. But they're not lost, you are. You've lost connection to the most important relationship you'll ever have, the one with yourself. That version of you, the one who is grounded, confident, full of light, is now performing, trying to become the perfect partner, the safest bet, the least confrontational version of yourself. And let's be real, that's not love, that's survival. It's heartbreaking because you didn't ask for this. You didn't sign up to compete. You didn't choose this battle. But now you're in it, and the only way out is through truth. Let me tell you something that will shift everything. If someone makes you feel like you're in a competition, you've already lost, but not in the way you think. You haven't lost her. You've lost the clarity of knowing you were always enough. This isn't about the other person. It's not even about her. It's about the fact that someone who loves you should never make you question your place in their life. You should never have to work overtime just to feel seen, heard, or valued. Love isn't earned through performance, it's shown through consistency. You don't need to compete for love, you need to come home to yourself. Ask yourself this: why am I trying so hard to prove I belong in someone's heart who can't even see me clearly anymore? What are you holding onto? A memory, a version of her that doesn't exist anymore, or a version of yourself you're afraid to lose? This is the hard truth, but also the most freeing. The right person won't make you chase. They won't create invisible rivals in your own relationship. They'll meet you, match you, stand beside you. You'll never have to wonder if you're enough because they'll show you every single day that you are. And if she doesn't, that's not your failure. That's your freedom. Freedom to stop performing, freedom to stop begging, freedom to stop shrinking just to fit in a space that no longer fits your soul. Because when you finally put down the weight of chasing someone who's already left emotionally, you free up your energy to chase something better, your healing, your voice, your truth. You stop fighting to win her back and start fighting to win yourself back. And that is where everything changes. Not because you won her over, but because you remembered you never had to compete for what's real. Her empathy is gone. You can always tell when love begins to leave. Not from the arguments, not from the silence, but from the absence of empathy. Empathy is what love looks like when life gets real. When the chaos of the world finds its way into your heart and you can barely speak it out loud, empathy is the look in her eyes that says, "I'm here, I see you, you're not alone." It's not grand gestures or perfectly timed words, it's presence. It's stillness. It's knowing that no matter how hard things get, you don't have to carry it all by yourself. But when that disappears, when she stops reaching for your hand in the dark, when your tears go unnoticed, when your silence no longer stirs concern, it cuts deeper than betrayal, because it feels like abandonment wearing a familiar face. You're in the same room, but it's cold now. Her body is there, but her heart isn't. You speak, and the words fall flat, no echo, no reflection, no warmth. That kind of void, it's the loneliest place in the world, to lie next to someone who used to know you and now barely flinches when you're breaking. That's not love, that's emotional exile. It happens quietly. At first, it's just a missed question, a distracted answer, a delayed response to your pain. But over time, it becomes something heavier, something that wears you down. You start wondering, is it me? Am I too much? Am I asking for too much? And let me stop you right there. No, you are not. You are not too much for asking someone to care. You are not needy for wanting to be seen, heard, or held. Love is not just shared joy, it's shared pain. And when someone stops meeting you in your low moments, they're not protecting their peace. They're exiting the relationship in silence. Cheating isn't always physical. Sometimes the deepest betrayal is emotional neglect. It's when someone starts turning away from your pain, not because they don't understand it, but because they no longer care to. That's the moment where everything shifts, because suddenly you're no longer partners, you're just coexisting. You're performing happiness in front of a person who won't even look up when your voice cracks. And that's not just cold, that's erosion. You deserve more than that. You deserve someone who doesn't just love your power, but sits beside you in your powerlessness. Someone who doesn't flinch from your tears, but reaches for your hand with even more certainty. That's what empathy does. It anchors love when everything else falls apart. But here's what no one tells you: you cannot teach someone to care. You can't beg for warmth and call it connection. You can't explain to someone how to love you in the language of empathy if their heart is already closed. And yet so many of us try. We fight for crumbs of affection, hoping it'll grow back into something whole. We excuse coldness as stress. We tell ourselves they're just tired or busy or going through something. But eventually you have to stop explaining their apathy and start asking yourself one critical question: how long am I going to let my spirit starve before I walk away? Because indifference is not neutral, it's corrosive. It wears down your sense of self, one small moment at a time. Every ignored plea, every deflected feeling, every shrug off pain, it adds up until you're standing in front of someone who once held your heart and now you're begging just to be acknowledged. That's not love. That's slow abandonment. And yet there's hope. There's always hope. But it begins when you stop trying to revive someone's empathy and start reviving your own dignity. When you stop settling for emotional scraps and start asking yourself, what would it feel like to be fully seen again? Not tolerated, not a jerk, but chosen, listened to. Held in a space where your feelings matter simply because you matter. You don't have to stay in a place that breaks your heart by degrees. You don't have to keep fighting for a connection that no longer exists. It is not your job to carry both your pain and her indifference. And you certainly don't have to teach someone how to care about you. That's not your burden, that's their loss. And when you finally remove what breaks you, when you finally let go of the hand that no longer reaches back, you make room. Room for healing, room for truth, room for the kind of love that leans in instead of turning away, love that listens, that holds, that stays. Her empathy may be gone, but yours doesn't have to be. Use it to save yourself. You no longer recognize yourself. This is the final sign. It's the one that's hardest to face, not because of what she did, but because of what it's done to you. You used to be someone full of life. Do you remember? You laughed without hesitation. You had dreams that stretched far beyond the walls of your world. You woke up with something burning inside you, purpose, passion, presence. You knew who you were. You knew what you deserved, and now there's a quiet in you that wasn't always there, a numbness, a hesitancy. You second guess your intuition. You question your worth. You find yourself walking on eggshells, trying not to disturb the balance, her balance. You're living smaller, quieter, softer, not because that's who you are, but because it's who you've had to become just to stay. And that's not love. That's survival. And survival is not where love is meant to live. Because love, real love, makes you come alive. It doesn't dim you. It doesn't ask you to shrink. It doesn't watch you unravel and stand still. But you, somewhere along the way, you stopped being you. You stopped fighting for yourself. You started carrying guilt that wasn't yours. You confused loyalty with self-abandonment. You mistook silence for peace. And you told yourself, if I can just be more patient, more forgiving, more understanding, she'll come back. But let's be honest, the version of her you miss, she left a long time ago. And the person you miss the most is you. The most heartbreaking part of betrayal isn't what someone does with someone else. It's what we let happen to ourselves in the name of love. The erosion doesn't happen overnight. It happens moment by moment, compromise by compromise, until one day you look in the mirror and you don't recognize who's looking back. Where did that fire go? Where did your joy disappear to? When did you start believing you were too much or not enough or somehow the reason for someone else's choices? I want you to hear this. You are not the reason she cheated. You are not the cause of her distance. And you are not responsible for someone else's inability to love with honor. The betrayal was never your burden to carry. And yet, you've been carrying it like it's your shame, like it's your failure, but it's not. It never was. It's time to set it down. This is the moment, the one where your power starts to rise again. Not in anger, not in revenge, but in remembrance. You get to remember who you are. You get to stop asking, why wasn't I enough for her? And start asking, why was I willing to lose myself to keep her? Because enough is enough. Enough of shrinking to fit into a space that was never meant to contain you. Enough of walking on eggshells to protect someone who was breaking you. Enough of performing, pleasing, and pacifying. You've done enough, and now, it's time to come back to yourself. It's time to wake up and say no more. No more betraying your intuition. No more apologizing for your needs. No more waiting for someone who already made their choice. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are not disposable. You are whole. You are resilient. You are still standing. And even in your lowest moment, even in the wreckage, you still have everything you need to rise. And rising, it doesn't mean getting even. It means getting honest. It means standing in front of the mirror, looking into your own eyes, and saying, I'm coming back for you. I've missed you. You're not just healing from her betrayal. You're resurrecting the version of you that was never meant to be buried. The version that knows your worth, that doesn't settle for half love or hidden truths. The version of you that loves boldly, but never at the cost of your soul. And this resurrection, it's not loud, it's not dramatic, it's quiet, steady. It happens every time you choose yourself over chaos. Every time you say no to what depletes you. Every time you reclaim your voice, your joy, your future. That's what this is really about. Not about her or what she did or who she did it with. It's about you. It's about reclaiming the sacred ground of your life and choosing finally to stand tall on it. Not with fear, but with resolve. Because you were never lost. You were just waiting for permission to return to yourself. And now you have it. Rise because of it. Maybe this speech hit something raw in you. Maybe you're realizing, yeah, she was cheating. Maybe not in the obvious ways, but in ways that slowly shattered your sense of safety, of love, of self. But I want to tell you this, you're not foolish for loving her. Love is never foolish. Loyalty is never weak. But staying where your soul is starving, that is the slowest kind of death. So let this be your moment, not of rage, but of awakening. Let this pain teach you who you are. Let it strip away what's fake so you can build something real. Not with her, but beside. Because the truth is, you don't rise in spite of betrayal. You rise because of it. And when you do, she'll see the version of you she never deserved to lose. But by then, you won't need her to notice. You'll be too busy living a life that's honest, bold, whole, and free.